Hare Krishna everyone. Please accept my humble obeisance to all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to Wisdom. Wisdom is nectar from senior devotee experiencing Srila Prabhupada. Today we have special guest, His Grace Samir Prabhu from Montreal, Canada. Samir Prabhu is one of the senior devotee in Montreal Temple. He spent long time, around more than 45 years in temple service, and still he continues doing service. And he had opportunity to see Prabhupada in that time, and from there he continued to serve from today. So I offer my respectful obeisance to Prabhu. Please accept. And I am so honored and gratitude that you are here. And I also have opportunity to associate with Prabhu in Montreal, and we have a lot of house program almost every week, one or two, and also Rathayatra time collecting donation from door to door, and still he continue to do service for donation for Radha Manohar, the wonderful deity of Montreal Temple. So I just invite Deveshwari Radhika Devi Dasi the short biography of His Grace Shamir Prabhu. Please step down. Thank you.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Samir Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisance to your lotus feet and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very nice to
Sure.
see you. How are you, Prabhu?
I'm just doing okay, just trying to survive, just cope with the
Yes, nice.
present situation with COVID.
Very nice. And I am very pleasure and honor to reading His Grace Samir Prabhu's biography. Samir Prabhu born in West Bengal, India. He moves to Canada. He was working in an architectural office in Ottawa, Canada. One day, when he came across some devotees doing Harinam, he was very impressed seeing their devotion. He got attracted by reading an article by Srila Prabhupada in one BTG magazine. In 1972, he met Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan when he was giving Nectar of Devotion class. 1973, he moved to Montreal, took an apartment close to the Hare Krishna temple on Park Avenue, Montreal. That time, after work, he would go regularly at the temple. In 1974, he closely involved to purchase a church for new temple on Pinaf Bowl. He had an opportunity to go out and collect donation from Indian community. He continues preaching and service in local ISKCON temple. At present, he is a member of the temple council as a director of finance. Thank you very much. Stay tuned. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
This is the short biography of Swami Prabhu. You can say a lot of stuff because our time shortage we cannot go through. But our main topic is today the experiencing with Srila Prabhupada around 20 minutes, then going 20 minutes for the greatest personality in the planet, the world, Srila Prabhupada. He explained very nicely. And last 20 minutes we have question and answer. So please stay tuned and hope we'll get benefit from the nectar of a senior devotee. So I pass to his guest Shamir Prabhu to start his first how his meet with Srila Prabhupada and how joint is done briefly. Thank you, and it is honor to come here. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a great honor to be here with all the devotees, and I also like to thank all the devotees who have been listening to this program. Yes, Prabhupada, I met him in Vrindavan in 1972 when Prabhupada was giving a class on Nectar of Devotion. That was my first meeting. And I was immediately attracted. Actually, I was attracted to one of the articles, as mentioned in the introduction. Was reading a Back to God magazine, and that article was so simple and so clear that it gives us a total understanding of our life, our problems in this material world, why we are suffering and how we can get out of it. He wrote it in such a simple way. I never came across such simple, eloquent way of writing in my life before. So I wanted to meet Prabhupada. So when I went to India in 1972, I went to Vrindavan with my brother, and there at the Radha Damodar temple on the courtyard of Rupa Goswami, there I met Prabhupada. To be short, then after that, in the same day, we returned to Delhi and came back to Montreal. And in 1973, I moved to Montreal from Ottawa. I was in Ottawa. There's also opened a center, and I was more or less started attaching myself with the devotees down there, and the devotees were so pleasant, so wonderful, and so welcoming that I feel like I'm a part of the family. And I started reading Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's Gita that was in purple color in those days. And when I moved to Montreal in 1973, I took an apartment close to the temple so that I can come more often. And of course, especially after work, uh, when I used to come to for the evening program, and I used to take prasadam along with the devotees. And then in 1974, they purchased the temple on Peanut Boulevard, and on 75, Srila Prabhupada came to Montreal, and it was a church which we bought, and we had to renovate it so that we can make it like a temple-like atmosphere. So Prabhupada, when in short, when Prabhupada saw me in the temple room, and there were so many devotees were there, and he was looking all around to see who has come. And finally, when he looked at me, then and my eyes, was looking just eye contact, and I felt so nervous just by seeing as if Prabhupada could see me right through. And then he asked me in Bengali about how long I've been here and all these things. And later on, when Prabhupada was staying in the room, I took the opportunity to uh, have to meet with Prabhupada and stay with him for short time, just person to person talk. And Prabhupada encouraged me and asked me to do some to help the temple devotees here. In those days, they were all mostly the local Canadian devotees, and some American devotees were there. And later on, of course, I met Prabhupada in Toronto the next year, but we had to do some design work. The temple president asked me to design the architectural design for this temple, which I did. And I took it to Delhi, and my brother's office, they made a model in plexiglass of this temple, and we wanted to get it approved by Prabhupada before we start any construction. So I took the model to Vrindavan, and then I gave it to the temple president, Shripati Das, at that time. He was from England, and Sripati Das took it to Prabhupada, and he got it approved. And so when we came back, and when in 75 we had a change of the president, and then Nandikeshwar came, And he also said, please carry on and make the construction drawing of the design, which I made. And after few months, this temple was there. So I was always indebted to Prabhupada for giving me service to do something. And I was always indebted to all the devotees who treated me just like one of their god brothers. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you. Anything else you like to?
Now you're going very nice to your experiences. Yeah, touching Srila Prabhupada is like touchstone.
Yes.
Anybody just meet Srila Prabhupada, see Srila Prabhupada, life becomes blessed. So you are so blessful, and please give us to bless so we can carry on our sadhana or your
Yeah,
mercy.
sure.
And now I request you for that Srila Prabhupada is the greatest personality in the planet. So
Hmm.
you explain more about Srila Prabhupada, how you feel, how is greatest to us. Because
Actually, there's so much to say about Prabhupada. I I don't want to transgress the time period, but I will try my best to have my uh, presentation as short as possible. As we know that Prabhupada was initiated in 1938 by His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. But in 1922, when he first met Prabhupada in Calcutta, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, first thing when he saw Prabhupada, the first thing he asked him, preach this movement, preach the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message to the English-speaking world. And Prabhupada took that order as his life and soul. So although he was grihastha at the time, he had family to take care and he had a job, but he never forgot that particular instruction. So when he uh, took Banaprastha and he started this Back to God in magazine in English because Prabhupada told him to have this, to preach this movement in English. And so he started Back to God magazine all by himself. He was writing, he was publishing it, everything else was doing it. And then, and there was a very interesting incident happened in Shantipur, which is a few kilometers away from Mayapur. Shantipur is a place where Advaita Acharya is staying, used to stay there. And there in Shantipur, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu almost quite often used to meet together to discuss how to spread the Mahamantra all over Navadvip and Bengal. So Prabhupada, the Pujari down there, he was mentioning that he used to see one Grihastha devotee, Vaishnav, used to come every alternate week, or sometimes every week, once a week. And he'd sit on the back of the temple and he'd chant on japas. And his concentration was so deep, his meditation was so deep that the tears would come out from Prabhupada's eyes. And then after the end of the arati, Prabhupada would go in front and thank the pujari and go home. They never talked to each other. So after a few years, the pujari didn't see him. After a few years, pujari saw there was one sannyasi sitting exactly where Prabhupada used to sit, and his face looked so familiar. So this time, also he was chanting on the japa, and the tears was coming down. So when Prabhupada went to the altar to thank the Pujari then had thought that I must ask who is he. So he asked him, who are you? What's your name? So he said, my name is Bhaktivedanta Swami. And my spiritual master has given me a very difficult task. He asked me to go to the West and preach this Krishna consciousness movement and preach the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I don't know how am I going to do that because he was 69 years old. But I have come here to ask for blessing from Advaita Acharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Nityananda so that I may be successful. Tomorrow I'm leaving for USA. So after that, the Pujari didn't see Prabhupada for quite a few years until maybe 71 or something like that. Then one day the Pujari saw there were a lot of Western Vaishnavas were there, clean shaved brahmacharis and grihasthas, tilak, neck beads, japamala, japa beads, and the Vaishnavis, the ladies were having saris and they looked so effulgent, so peaceful. So he came and asked one devotee, "Who are you? Where have you come from?" And that devotee said, uh, the devotee handed him a Back to Godhead magazine. And as the Pujari was looking into the Back to Godhead magazine, he saw a picture of Prabhupada. And he said, he did it. He was saying, he did it. That means Prabhupada was successful in going to the West and making the Western young people Vaishnavas. So he was so excited that he immediately went to the Mayapur from Shantipur to Mayapur to give this news to the devotees down there who may not know what Prabhupada was coming down there. So this is the incident that happened when Prabhupada was so was so concerned about preaching this movement to the Western world. This year also we have to is also marks the 125th anniversary of Prabhupada's appearance day. And Prabhupada in 19 in, actually came to the Western. He took the ship. He was on September 17, 1965. He arrived in Boston uh, on the ship Jaladuta. As you probably know, most of the devotees they know Jaladuta, and carrying within his heart the message, the order of the spiritual master to spread the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu beyond the borders of India and throughout the entire and spread it throughout the entire world. He was 69 years old and he had only 40 rupees in his pocket. So he could understand that it's a difficult situation, a challenging situation in this sacred mission. So he felt great compassion for the fallen conditioned souls, and he he prayed in Bengali. When he went back to the ship, he wrote in Bengali poem. It's so nice. If you permit me, I like to chant that particular song, and also give it an English translation because this is so effective. By hearing about the mood he wrote to the Krishna, it shows how dependent he was on Lord Krishna's. The song goes like this. Boro kripa koile Krishna adhamer proti kilagiya nile hetha koro ebe goti আছে কিছু কার্য তব এই অনুমানে নহে কেন আনিবেন এই উগ্র স্থানে রজস্তম গুণে এরা সবাই আচ্ছন্ন বাসুদেব কথা রুচি নহে সে প্রসন্ন তবে যদি তব কৃপা হয় অহেতুকি সকলই সম্ভব হয় তুমি শিকৌতুকি. I'll do the translation. My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me here? This terrible place. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudev. I do not know how they will be able to understand. But I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. So the song goes on. I will just read the last passage, passage of the songs. অখিল জগত গুরু বচন সে আমার, অলঙ্কৃত করিবার ক্ষমতা তোমার। তব কৃপা হইলে মোর কথা শুদ্ধ হবে, শুনিয়া সবার শোক দুঃখ যে ঘুচিবে। আনিয়াছ যদি প্রভু আমারে নাচাতে, নাচাও নাচাও প্রভু, নাচাও সে মতে। কাষ্ঠের পুত্তলি যত, নাচাও সে মতে। ভক্তি নাই বেদ নাই, নামে খুব দারো, ভক্তি বেদান্ত নাম এবে সার্থক করো। So it means, O spiritual master of all worlds, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy, my mercy, will my words become pure. I'm sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. Oh Lord, I'm just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance. Oh Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhakti Vedantu, and now, if you like, you can fulfill that real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladut, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18th September 1965. What Srila Prabhupada accomplished in such a short time is itself a miracle. Within 11 years, he traveled so many times around the world. He made more than 100 centers, and he initiated more than 5,000 disciples, met, met scientists, academics, religionists, and only to have one desire to demonstrate how one can become free from the clutches of Maya, free from these real problems of life, which is birth, old age, disease, and death. That is, and go back home, back to the spiritual world, and live eternally and peacefully. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us how to love God by propagating the holy name, Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And and he predicted actually that this name will spread in every town and village. And Srila Prabhupada fulfilled that mission. Now the question may come, who is Srila Prabhupada? And it's a very interesting thing. You want what happened that in Bombay there was one devotee from Sri Ramanuj Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, the head of their department, the head of their ministry came to meet the head of the Bombay temple, who was the Giriraj Swami. At that time, he was Giriraj Das, Brahmachari, temple president. So they met, and he asked Giriraj, "Who is Prabhupada?" And Giriraj Swami said, "Oh, he's our founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness." And this Swami says, "No, I know that, but who is Prabhupada?" Then he said, "Well, he's our Guru Maharaj. He is spiritual master of all these devotees, you see." No, 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 I know that. Then Giriraj didn't know what to answer. And then this Swami said, our founder Acharya, Ramanuj, spread Vaishnavism all over South India and many parts in North India. But your spiritual master, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, spread the Vaishnavism throughout the entire world. Now also, when we go to see some of our Puranas, In Brahma Vaivarta Purana, it's mentioned Lord Krishna was telling Ganga that he will send his mantra upasha to spread the chanting of Hare Krishna and therefore purify the water, air, and sky and humanity everywhere. And he specifically mentioned that this period of worldwide chanting will continue 10,000 years. Now, 500 years ago, the most significant prediction is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Mangal, he clearly mentioned that he will send his leading preacher, Senapati Bhakta, abroad, that means outside India. In more recent days, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in Sajjan Toshani, which I will read, and that was written in 1885. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not advent to liberate only a few men in India. Rather, his main objective was to emancipate all living entities of all countries throughout the entire universe and preach eternal religion. There is no doubt that this questionable order will come to pass. Very soon, the unparalleled path of Harinam Sankirtan will be propagated all over the world. Or, oh, for that day when the fortunate English, French, Russian, German, and American people will take up banners, midangas, kartalas, raise kirtan through the streets and towns. When will that day come? That day will witness the holy transcendental ecstasy of Vaishnav Dharma to be the only Dharma, and all the sects and religions will flow like rivers into the ocean of Vaishnav Dharma. When will that day come? It is also mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kolikale Dharmo, Krishna Nam Sankirtan, Krishna Shakti Bina Nahi, Tar Pravartan. Religious system in this age of Kali is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Unless one is empowered by Krishna, no one can propagate the Sankirtan movement the way Srila Prabhupada did it. Srila Prabhupada arrived in US in 1965, and for 1 year, he accepted so many difficult situations. No money, no proper shelter, harsh New York winter, typewriter stolen, crazy roommate, missing Vrindavan atmosphere because he was staying in Vrindavan before coming here. Yet he was very patient and determined to carry out his spiritual master's order to spread Krishna consciousness movement. He would sit on Tompkins Square Park in New York and chant the holy name, chant the Mahamantra. He didn't even have proper midanga. He just had a bongo sort of thing. But he attracted many sincere young Americans who were actually disgusted with the materialistic way of life and looking for something more, searching after higher purpose of life. In 1966, he established International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and then in New York, and then next following year, he sent some devotees to San Francisco and then to Montreal, Canada. So in other words, Montreal is the third center of the whole ISKCON centers all over the world. And he sent 3 Grihastha devotees to London, England, to spread the Krishna, to open center there. And the devotees also met George Harrison, who was so impressed. And he also gave his mansion to the Hare Krishna devotees to have their center there. So devotees also started opening up centers in New Zealand, Germany, France, and other parts in Europe, USA, South America, Australia, New Zealand, Iran, in a Muslim country, Iran, and then China. And while training these devotees to become pure devotees, Prabhupada was also translating. He found some time to translate Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Krishna books, and Bhagavad Gita, and also from all his sincere devotees in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, they started translating his books into the different languages. When Prabhupada would travel, the reporters would follow and try to find out about Prabhupada. So once in London, one reporter asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, why have you come to our country? And you know what Prabhupada said? Prabhupada said, you people ruled our country for 200 years and you have stolen all our valuable jewels and many things. But you have forgotten that to take the most precious thing, that is the knowledge of the Absolute, which I have come to give it to you. There were many wonderful incidents that happened during his travel and preaching. In March 1971, a gigantic Hare Krishna festival took place in Cross Maidan in Mumbai. You must have heard, because Giriraj Swami was mentioning about that beautiful programs. And according to Radhanath Swami, because where Radhanath Swami also came in contact with Prabhupada at that big festival, that was called Cross Maidan Festival. Cross Maidan is a glimpse into Srila Prabhupada's power of devotion, his compassion, his conviction, how he empowered people to do something that was quite impossible. It is hard for people today to understand how people from Europe, USA to come to India 50 years ago actually organized and accomplished something in such a proportion. And they were happy to doing it, and they were doing it for Srila Prabhupada. They loved Srila Prabhupada so much. They had confidence that Srila Prabhupada loved them and he cared about them, and they wanted to assist Srila Prabhupada to do something wonderful. And Cross Maidan Festival was truly a testimony. Prabhupada also planted seed in Russia. Srila Prabhupada always wanted, because Russia at that time was going through the communist regime, very strict. He arrived with Shyam Sundar and another devotee in June 20, 1971. Shyam Sundar met two young men, one Indian who was a son of a diplomat, and the other one was a Russian young student, Anatoly Pinayev. Anatoly was asking Shyam Sundar, seeing that he's an American, do you have genes? And he said, no, I don't have genes. Oh, do you have some Beatles records? Say, no, I don't have Beatles record, but we have the Beatles. Guru Maharaj is now staying with us in the hotel. Would you like to see him? Anatoly was very excited. Yes, I'd like to come and meet. So Shyam Sundar brought Anatoly to Prabhupada. And when Prabhupada looked at him, his eyes brightened, as if he was expecting him to come. And then immediately they made a very good connection. And Anatoly was so impressed to hear so much about our Vaishnava Dharma, Vaishnavism, and the devotion to Krishna. And so he even stayed one night because his friend, the Indian friend, he left, but he didn't want to go home. He wanted to stay. And he stayed overnight, and the following day, Prabhupada also preached. Because that was the day Prabhupada was leaving, Prabhupada initiated him as his name was Ananta Shanti Das. And he told him, and so Ananta Shanti was saying, Srila Prabhupada, what should I do? How I should get on with my jobs? Because here, everywhere, there is a spies and police are there, want to stop us. And Prabhupada said that Krishna lives in your heart. And when he sees some sincere soul trying to make some progress, he will give you the direction to do something from within. And then Prabhupada, just before leaving, Shyam Sundar gave his own japa beads and Bhagavad Gita, which he brought, and also some tilak. And Anatoly was now Ananta Shanti. And now he also suffered a lot of torture from the police down in from the KGB in Russia, and all the devotees whom he had brought to spread the Krishna consciousness. They also had to go through the jails, asylum, torture, everything. But they never gave up. So Ananta Shanti, being empowered by Srila Prabhupada, single-handedly created a cadre of the first Russian Hare Krishna devotees, which that gradually spread throughout USSR. And thus Srila Prabhupada planted a Krishna conscious seed on Russian soil. So now we can understand, we will now be able to understand fully the magnitude of Prabhupada's glory. So I will conclude this speech with Bhakti Vikas, His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami, how he saw Prabhupada. He said, the more we hear about Srila Prabhupada, the more we become amazed and inspired by his extraordinary achievements and wonderful personality, and more we become attached to Srila Prabhupada, the more our hearts become cleansed and more we advance in spiritual life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I hope
Thank
uh,
you.
it was not too long, but there's so much to say, but I have to be very brief. I tried as brief as possible.
Thank you so much for your wonderful explanation about Srila Prabhupada. Of course, Srila Prabhupada is incomparable for anyone, and Srila Prabhupada said, ISKCON is my body. So anybody is doing supporting ISKCON or in ISKCON is with Srila Prabhupada. So now is question and answer only.
Sure.
First question uh, I want to ask you some key questions also have. The dedication. How one person can dedicate the Supreme Lord their life for your experience?
Yes. One has to be first quality the person has to have is a sincerity. One has to be extremely sincere if he is looking for true happiness. Because in this material world, there is no such thing as true happiness. In this material world, we are all the happiness we get is all in on sense perception. All the senses, which is gross material senses, by touching, by smelling, or by eating, everything is material. But the spiritual senses are there within our hearts, in everyone's heart. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, and that is the Krishna Prem is to enjoy Krishna Prem means they are actually satisfying their spiritual senses. It says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Sadhya Kobu Noy Sravanadi Shuddha Chitte Korai Udoy. That means when our heart, which has been covered with so many dust of accumulation of desires and lust and anger and greed, when we start hearing Sravanadi Shuddha Chitte, when we start hearing, chanting and hearing about the glories of the Supreme Lord, the Mahamantra, and that cleanses our heart. Cheta Darpana Marjana, Tabo Maha Maha Davagni Nidvapana. So it cleans the heart, and then Sravanadi Shuddha Chitta, the Chitto, the heart becomes clean. Korai Uday. Then the one can taste a little glimpse, little bit of the Krishna Prem or Bhakti within their heart.
Thank you so much. Next question is this is Krishna can everything can accept, but one thing he never accept in Krishna Prabhupada. And we are every time we do so many knowing and unknowing in Krishna Prabhupada. How can control this thing, Krishna Prabhupada?
It is a very good question, and it is so important in our lives for all the followers of the Vaishnavas. Because sometimes we get carried away, and sometimes we are still under the influence of the mode of ignorance and mode of passion. So, this is something every day, at the end of the day, a sincere devotee should analyze what I have said to other people, what I have done. Have I done anything? Have I hurt anybody's feelings? not only just Vaishnavas, but to any other persons. He may not be
All
able. Yeah,
all
ordinary
human.
people, ordinary karmi. You want the Vaishnavas to be extremely careful not to hurt anybody's feelings, because that way we can ruin our progress. Like the Lord never actually forgives those who specifically uh, insults another Vaishnava. We know in Chaitanya Leela and Chaitanya Chaitamrita, there's so many things. Jagai Madhai case, that they were so envious of the devotees that even the Madhai threw that broken chips of the vessel into Nityananda. The blood was coming out, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he heard, he came rushing to kill both Jagai and Madhai with Sudarshan Chakra. But Nityananda Prabhu stopped him. He says, no, actually it was Jagai who saved me, because when Madhai was about to throw this second time, and Jagai stopped him from doing so. And so he saved my life. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so happy. So he embraced Jagai and gave him Krishna Prem, Krishna Bhakti. Madhai, seeing the things, he fell at the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, I am not going to forgive you. Only if the person to whom you have committed the offense, if he forgives you, then I can uh, give you the Krishna Prem. So Madhai fell at the feet of Nityananda, and then Nityananda said, of course, Nityananda is always forgive anybody. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him the Krishna Prem, Krishna Bhakti. So a sincere devotee has to be extremely careful. Whenever he speaks, he should actually try to speak in such a way not to agitate the mind of others. Even if you see some mistakes in the other persons, you should calmly call him and tell him that, Prabhu, this is the thing I see that there is some kind of discrepancies. Can you please tell me your explanation why you are doing it, rather than you know
Yeah.
putting him in a very awkward position, especially in front of other devotees. So one has to be extremely vigilant in this respect.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question is prasadam. Prasadam is very significant. Many people become a devotee just taking the prasadam of Supreme Lord. So, how is about your comments on prasadam? How to eat and how to offer them, honor them,
How to? What's the last question?
honor because some
Oh,
people
that's
want
the prasadam. Yeah, yeah.
to
Actually,
enjoy it somehow.
yeah, prasadam is such a weapon. Like in Krishna consciousness, there are four kinds of people are there. There are four kinds of things that one has to observe. One, that when the devotees see the Supreme Lord's vigraha, he should pay obeisances and give respects to the deities, full dandavat pranam. And the second class is that when the devotee sees another devotee, another Vaishnava, he should become friend with him and develop a friendship with that devotee. And the third kind is that those who are innocent. Innocent means they don't know anything about Krishna consciousness. So this is their devotee would now should try to preach that innocent person, because they don't know about Krishna consciousness. And then you give them book, give them prasadam, talk them, and ask them any question they have. And in this way, there's a third group. And the fourth group are the atheists, or those who are envious of the devotees. When the devotees meet those atheists or envious of the devotees, you have to neglect them. Just ignore those people. At the most, you can give some prasadam. Prabhupada always insisted that anybody who comes to the temple, whenever Prabhupada, because there are so many devotees or so many visitors would come and meet Prabhupada, and Prabhupada would ask his disciple, when these guests will leave, give him some prasadam, give him sweet ball, because there's a potent. This prasadam is non-different from Krishna himself. So That is, and the prasadam has to be honored properly because prasadam is non-different from the Supreme Lord because it has been offered. As soon as it is offered, it becomes Krishnaized. So it's true that prasadam has brought many, including myself. When I used to come to the temple, like in Ottawa, first time I was going there, the Dharmaraj, the temple president, and his wife, they would cook so what a wonderful prasadam. And I got immediately like, oh, I have to go there tomorrow. I have to, and then gradually I got trapped. And then when I came to Montreal, in the same thing in Park Avenue, I was being attracted by the prasadam. And at the end of the work, they would keep a separate plate for me with the name written in it. They would have different devotees' name on the plate, underneath the plate. And when I came, oh, Samir, you have come. So there is a plate for you, Rajbhog offering, and give it to me. So I felt so good. The prasadam was, of course, always good because it was offered to Krishna. So that's how prasadam's importance is so. It's important. The distribution of prasadam is so important.
Thank you so much. And Prabhupada appreciate to distribute prasadam as much as can.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Next question is Grihasthas. So there is four ashram
Hmm.
and brahmachari, they only focusing their Krishna, and Vanapasta also there are no other thinking, only focus. Sannyasi of course is teaching, they are not thinking about other stuff. But in Grihastha, they have a lot of things of balance. Family life, society, Krishna consciousness. So how it is managed all these things is very not easy. But Grihastha also very important because without Grihastha there is no Krishna consciousness generation is coming. So how your explanation on how they manage all these things and progress Krishna consciousness in Grihastha?
Yes, as we see that if you look at the history of our Vaishnav uh, path and even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, most of the devotees were Grihasthas.
Mhm.
Srivas Thakur was Grihastha, Murari Gupta was Grihastha, so many. And even like Prabhupada sent three Grihastha couples to
Mhm.
England to open the centers. The point is, you're right, for Grihastha, it's a very big responsibility. He has to balance between the because he has to take care of the devotees as well as take care of himself in spiritual growth. The center should be Krishna for all the family members, and this is how a grihastha can progress. They should sit together and read the books, Bhagavad Gita, listen to Prabhupada's lecture class, and take prasadam. Take care of the children. The children has to go to the school, but at the same time teaching them about the principles of bhakti because this is so important in all our lives. The goal of all of us is to how we can go back home back to God. That goal, whether it's a brahmachari or whether it's a grihastha or is a banaprasana, is the same. That we have to the goal is that to go back home to God. But if we neglect any of the principles of the bhakti yoga, if our mind becomes too attached to something that if I do this financially, I will be very happy and things like that. That means his mind is being distracted. One should not be greedy. One should be actually balance his mind. Whatever Krishna has provided us, he should be happy with that. If the grihastha is happy with whatever he's getting, then there is no problem. Then Grihastha can lead a very smooth Krishna conscious life and also preach others, become exemplary to the other Grihasthas.
Yes, thank you so much. Because Grihastha also need because so many things, because most of are Grihastha.
Yes.
And Grihastha also they helping the Lakshmi to the temple, and this way temple can run. Everybody going carry a sannyasi, then no. Lakshmi also. So Grihastha is important. Other things we are not like Griha maybe, like too much attached to the Grihastha life. Then again, we are away from Krishna consciousness. So thank you so much your kind explanation. Our next question is ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. How can attack new generation to join in Krishna consciousness? What your thought about that?
The process is the same as I have seen when I first coming in contact with the devotees. The process is same. When the newcomers come in,
Mhm.
the devotees who have been there for more than 2 years or 3 years, experienced devotees, senior devotees, they should welcome those newcomers in such a way that they feel at ease. They don't feel any kind of uh, anxiety or disturbance, because sometimes when the newcomers come in and they see everything is so different, they have a lot of questions to ask
Mm.
and they didn't know. But if the devotees just ignore that person, oh, he's a newcomer, let's pass by, that doesn't help. And that newcomer, he feels that I'm being neglected.
Mm.
I'm just so why should I come here? But if you feel loved, if you feel that you're caring for him, then immediately he gets attracted to that devotee. It's a personal relation is so important, because Prabhupada also did the same thing. When Prabhupada, the Second Avenue, when the newcomers, he would advertise people to come, the new people to come to preach to them. How he attracted them. He made them feel so at home that he would give them prasadam, proper personally cook prasadam for them and distribute them. And he would encourage, eat as much as chapati, take more. Like once George Harrison came to see Prabhupada in England, and George Harrison was sitting, and Prabhupada says, bring something for George Harrison. And so somebody brought a very nice big plate. And Prabhupada says, and Johnson said, "Oh, I just came back eating lunch." So, no, eat. And Prabhupada would make him eat all the prasadam. And so this is how George Sisson felt that's so good that, I feel because you get, it happened in India also sometimes when you go to the marriage party and things like, oh, give it to him. That is our culture, just to attract. But sometimes, uh, we are when coming in contact in the modern age,
Mhm.
we are becoming more impersonal. One has to be very personal. If you become impersonal, the newcomers who are coming, they also become impersonal. Say, okay, fine, this is it's a good prasadam, and then or they just leave. But you have to develop relationship with that newcomer, and then you follow up on his whatever you have to do. And that our brahmacharis in Manchia, they are very expert at doing it. They're going out and going out on Harinam regularly, talk to the new people and give them prashad.
Nice. This is most of his one of the brahmachari when I was he want to go visit India. So he go all part in the world in India. And finally he say want to go Bangladesh, Bengal, East Bengal. And went there for 1 week and so much get food and everything, entertainment, he want to stay 1 month. So entertainment and love and devotion for brahmachari, he make so much humble with that. So he feels Bangladesh is the best place, even the Muslim country could be. So offering with love and devotion is work very greatly. So thank you. And our next question is book. Srila Prabhupada lots of book, and in short time, Srila Prabhupada wrote lots of books. We cannot finish our whole life. It is really impossible to us reading only as Srila Prabhupada wrote. So he's extraordinary. So I another question is come from which book we start from the beginning, then you can understand Srila Prabhupada book. What you're thinking, which your experience.
Well, I would say, for the Indians, they can start reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, because in Bhagavad Gita gives us is a basic uh, process of Krishna consciousness, how one can advance. How about our relationship with the matter, our relationship with God, our relationship with nature, and and the different process of yogas are also described. How one can what are the benefits of different kind of yogas, and which is the best yoga one has to do. And Krishna clearly explains the bhaktamam vijanati. If one has to know Krishna, bhaktamam vijanati javan jasasmit tattvataha. That means only the bhaktas, that they can actually understand of all the yogas, karma yoga, jnana yoga. So for a beginner, Bhagavad Gita is very nice. And then we can go to Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam gives all descriptions of the Supreme Lord. Gradually starts from the beginning, from first canto, and they should not go jump into the 10th canto in Srimad Bhagavatam, where 10th canto gives Krishna and his pastimes with the gopis and the Radharani. So before that, he should start with Srimad Bhagavatam and then go all the way. And the third one is, of course, Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is the culminating, they call this postdoctorate study of the real Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discusses with Sanatan Goswami and Rup Goswami, and then in the last Antalila, one can read from Krishnadas Kaviraj Prabhu how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so engrossed in love and separation with Saradharani. And there's a very, very high state of consciousness one can study. But so one should start with Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya. Of course, nectar of devotion is there. They can definitely gain. Prabhupada actually mentioned to some devotee that if somebody, because in our world we have so many different books, but if somebody reads Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya, Nectar of Devotion, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, these all four books is enough for somebody to become completely pure.
That means going to systematic way to study. But all book.
Correct.
Next question is, before Srila Prabhupada, a lot of sannyasi and people came west to preaching, but they are not success. Only Srila Prabhupada is success, and he win whole world. So, what do you think? What is the main things that Srila Prabhupada make the success?
Can you repeat that question again?
I mean, before any lots of sannyasi
Sannyasi came here.
they came in the West, like USA or Europe, and everybody is coming for short time and back. They don't so much preaching. But Srila Prabhupada, even he have no money, no any support, he alone win whole world. So what is the main things Srila Prabhupada had that his success? What your experience?
Oh, okay. Of course, Prabhupada, as I mentioned before, that he's compared to the other devotees or even from other gurus or preachers over the world. That's why today's topic is the greatest personality of art, Srila Prabhupada. And he is not an ordinary jiva soul. He is, one Maharaj has mentioned, he's a Shaktavesh avatar. Shaktavesh avatar means that he has been empowered by the Supreme Lord. So that is why, although he was just dressed like the human beings and everything else, but he has that khamata or the power because empowered by Krishna, and Krishna specifically sent him to this material world to enlighten Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, as I mentioned, that he is Senapati Bhakta. I'm going to send Senapati Bhakta who is going to go abroad and preach all this. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu already knew that this devotee will come, and he sent Prabhupada specially. That's why Prabhupada always, in spite of all the difficulties, all the challenges he faced, he never gave up. So he was never deviated from his path. But the other ones, Prabhupada wanted this movement to spread as fast as possible. That's why he made many in the sannyasis, or because he wanted. And Prabhupada was telling another devotee that this is like a battlefield. In a battlefield, you are fighting with Maya, illusory energy. So you need army general. So there are army generals who may not be as qualified, but he has been sent in the front line, just fight. So they came and fight for Prabhupada, and but although they may not be, they could not finish it, but Prabhupada always remembered these devotees who uh, fought for him. And there are, of course, right now, there's so many qualified sannyasis and so many senior Vaishnavas are there in this world who are still sticking to the principles which Prabhupada gave it to them, and they are doing a wonderful service of inspiring so many new generation and inspiring to make them devotees. Because I was in Ukraine last year, year before last year, and for 2 years in a row I went there, and I saw thousands of 5,000, 7,000 devotees were there, so dedicated in preaching Krishna consciousness. So I see that they have been trained by many our the first generation sannyasis and gurus who are doing an excellent job. Prabhupada had those army of these excellent commanders who are just carrying out what Prabhupada asked them to do. So that's why they are successful. But Prabhupada himself, of course, we know that he's not from this ordinary world. He's directly from the spiritual world.
Thank you very much. Yeah, timing. Well, last question. Time is really going. Last question is, what your advice to the new generation? It is important the new generation know from the senior devotee of their
You mean
of
to new generation devotees or new generation new people?
new
Which
generation or devotee, non-devotee, any new generation.
okay.
Everybody is directly, indirectly devotee, but depends on touch of the devotee becoming.
Yeah. I would suggest that if the new generation comes, they take the cue from the senior devotees. And those senior devotees have the responsibility to take care of the new generation,
Mhm.
of the new devotees who are coming in. As I was saying, that they have to be very compassionate. The compassion has to be there from for the senior devotees for the new generation, because the new generation would learn only from the senior people. Just like in the early days, the devotees learned it from Prabhupada, how Prabhupada is behaving. They would observe Prabhupada every step, how he's drinking water, how he's walking, how he's talking, how he's taking care of these scientists, or how he's dealing with these reporters, how he's preaching. So this is so similarly, the new generation, the senior devotees have this responsibility to train the new generation, and then so that this new generation can also become attracted, because everybody Krishna is there in everybody's heart. And so new generation, whether it's the devotees or non-devotees, it's there, it's always there. It has to be fanned. The fire of devotional service is there in everybody's heart. You have to fan to make them ignited so that they can dedicate their lives in Srila Prabhupada's wonderful movement.
Thank you so much for your wonderful explanation for our question and topic. And our main purpose is to focus the Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. Because we cannot go directly Krishna, we have to go the property of devotee Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada is our guidance, and Srila Prabhupada give the like the custom, give all who are touching the Srila Prabhupada, they also get mercy and they pass to the another people. So this way we are going. So if we are based and focus the Srila Prabhupada principle, then sure we can success. And this our dream, the purpose is to understand Srila Prabhupada, understand Krishna, understand senior devotee. And if you making a relationship with same way, then Krishna always happy and blessed to us. And this way life become peaceful. And also Srila Prabhupada, other people say Srila Prabhupada make one house shelter. So whole world can,
Hmm.
maybe universe. So
Exactly.
it is opportunity, everybody can come. There is no discrimination. You have become black and white and this. The Prabhupada made for everybody with any discrimination. So it is the opportunity, and we are so blessed that we have opportunity. That we are in Canada in that campaign and Hare Krishna movement, and also senior devotee like you help us to. progress the Krishna consciousness. So I again thank you so much for your kind presence, your so kind, and I always bless. I want to get blessed from you, then we can continue our service to Krishna and Srila Prabhupada and devotees. And I thanks to all devotees who are participating watching this wonderful wisdom. And we are continuing every to all senior devotees in the Holy Land. We talked lots of senior devotees like Maharaj, and we are continuing going. So thank you so much, and time for next one. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We like to pray for all the
Yes,
devotees who have been
yes.
suffering for this COVID. So let's
Because
pray
this
that
time
they
is
can
COVID, there's a lot
recover.
of people.
Yeah.
Okay, start.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you
Hare
for inviting me, and
So
thank you
just
for giving me a
last
chance.
one is Vanchakalpa. Okay. Just
Vanchakalpotruvyascha kripasindhavaya vacha
put
patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Granthapati Vaishnavindra ki jai.